Hey traders, welcome to the third Crypto Lab show with Alex. For the ones that you don't know me, I'm crypto and forex uh, head of trading and analysis in trading analysis, and here we discuss cryptos and correlation and all of the news. It's a crypto lab kind of experiment with our methodology and look what is the price action and the news, and try to discover some viable crypto projects on the blockchain, which we try to present here. And I think that fairly in a minute or two we can start with our presentation. So welcome again, happy Christmas and holidays. Hopefully the 2021 will be a bit better year for all of us. I hope you are all safe and sound, and try to keep like that way until this COVID crisis finally stops. So we can start with our presentation. I have prepared some of the wave counts. Some of the wave counts also we did last week failed, and I will explain how we handled that. So we can start with our overall outlook on cryptos, and of course we can start with a major one, which is Bitcoin. So this is the larger time frame that we always look. So in our methodology that we try to apply to every markets, we usually start from weekly and daily time frames for the overall orientation where we are in the trend. So for now we are still looking this weekly Bitcoin chart. This is a semi-log scale, and on this chart we are still monitoring progression of this possible orange wave 3 with the targets around 1618 Fibonacci projection from the wave 1 and 2, and project to get the target for the wave 3. This is one of the standard procedures, and one of the common ratios for the wave 3 is actually 161.8. It can also go higher, but usually we try to pinpoint this one for a possible target. As you can see, there is a very nice discernible yellow channel here. We use some of these channels also for the orientation, and as you can see, the subdivisions are quite working nicely for now with this channel. We have seen after this wave 2 a nice 5 waves in this wave 1, pullback in a wave 2, moving upside in a wave 3, also pullback from 2017 highs to the 2018 lows, and then we see further progression on the upside. We treat this as some type of a correction in a possible wave 4. Also, you can put the wave triangle. We can put the triangle here, commonly known as a wedge pattern, where you can subdivide these waves here as an A, B, down in C, D, and E. Although the E wave is unusually short, but from the Elliott wave standpoint, it's completely valid. So in both of these scenarios, we should continue to go higher towards some of these levels that we have marked here. Usually after we do some analysis on the higher time frame and the overall outlook, I just will point out that for now clearly the trend is on the upside. We are seeing some of the higher levels in the RSI, which we monitor from time to time just to see where we are. So if we try to put this one of the kind of an indicators which follows the trend on the upside and the strength of the trend, we see here that we are in relatively high readings around 84. So it will be normal to expect some type of a corrective pullback uh, potentially for the continuation of this trend. Usually sometimes this RSI can hold for some time here and push this trend further on the upside. But when we go on a smaller time frame and when we present you some subdivisions, you will see that some type of a corrective pullback in either of these scenario is very possible in the next few months. So drilling down to the daily time frame, we can switch to a count which we are looking for as a primary wave count, where we have some of the outlook, and consider this to be a finished full 5-wave sequence. So we expect some type of a corrective pullback to some support levels. We don't know that now. As I said, every wave count depends on the one who is behind this beautiful tool and driving it. It's just a hypothesis. When we see clear indications, and we have that in this methodology, which will tell us are we really going to do such a larger or smaller corrective pullbacks here. I also have some of the bearish wave counts, which I will show, but just a temporary bearish. So on this one, we can see that if we see from these levels a little bit more higher, some type of a 5-wave pullback, we will actually be inclined to see that probability for a further development of the corrective process will continue, and that will be a clear sign that we might see some type of a B wave pullback and the continuation to the downside in the C wave. So for a possible wave 2. So this is just one of the scenarios we track, and as I said, here is important to follow this signpost and developments of the corrective process, if it unfolds, in which manner this process is going, and that will tell us exactly what we can expect in a little bit more distant time ahead. I will also show you some of the wave counts that we also look in a little bit more bullish manner. So this one is a slightly more bullish, where we have this wave 1 finished a little bit earlier. But as I said, looking for the fractal nature of the market, these subdivisions and pullbacks in a wave 2 are quite unusual. I will say in cryptos they are possible because it's nature of a current market and volatility. But in general, I usually don't tend to put these wave 2s so short. But anyhow, in this scenario, we will have a 1-2-1-2, which is a very bullish wave count. So this one will go for a smaller pullback back to 15,000, and then a very abrupt continuation on the upside, because usually when you have a wave 3, in the wave 3 they're usually very vertical and has a almost 90-degree angle on the upside. As you can see here also, when you look the daily, the RSI is also on a very high reading. If you look in the past, if you see the previous highs, we always made some type of a sizable correction when we reach these levels, and we will see if this one will occur this time. We have passed the all-time highs from the 2017, but if we look even closer, the subdivision which is currently unfolding are telling us that potentially a 5-wave sequence is close to its end, and that potentially we might see a little bit of more upside, and after that we should start a consolidation or a correcting phase which might last for the next few weeks or a month or months and a half, where we're going to see this pullback to first support levels around 16, 15 and 14,000. If we switch on our wave count, where this is all presented as a triangle, which gives a little bit a different picture, because in Elliott wave theory and methodology, the wave 4 in a form of a triangle, it's a bit of a warning sign, because the wave 4s and particularly any corrective waves are just a balancing of forces of buyers and sellers. So we don't rely just reading graphs, we are looking the inside psychology of the market, and clearly, as you can see, all of this move on the upside was balanced by this huge correction unfolding in a possible triangle. And when you have a fourth wave triangle, you basically know, especially on these higher time frames, this is weekly, that you are going to have a final push up in the orange wave 5 before a larger correction comes. So we still don't know what of these scenarios are actually gonna unfold, but the good thing on the bullish side is that whatever we look, either a first one or a second one or even this third one, the outlook is bullish after a correction, because subdivisions and a fractal nature is telling us that post triangle trust in the wave 1 should correct, and then we should see a continuation upward to higher levels to finish the final 5-wave sequence in this wave 3. The only difference is that this final sequence here on our first presented wave count will have a little bit deeper correction than the usual two, than the other two that we suggest might also happen. I will also present you a bearish wave count, which I think is also possible in this environment, which you can see as it's also a bullish outlook, but with a little bit more deeper correction, and this one calls for a flat corrective pattern. It's one of the patterns which are corrective in nature, but has a different wave pattern than zigzags, double zigzags, or possible triangles. And here they usually subdivide in a 3-3-5, and when you break the previous highs of this type of corrections, we call this expanded flat. Expanded means that the price expands above these highs and then expands below these lows. But in this case, I will look for a running flat, which actually says that the 5-wave move, which will be in the C wave, will not actually go to these previous lows, which it will complete earlier because of the nature of the bullishness of the market, and actually the new uptrend might start much more earlier than reaching potential lower levels. For the Fib ratios that we look for this type of a corrective pullback, the key level is 127.2 of the extension, and around this zone, if we start to trace out something of a more bearish price action, this will actually portray a possibility that we are in this type of a pattern, and that we might actually finish a little bit lower in the impulsive sequence, which will have a 5 waves instead of a 3 waves that we look here on some of these other scenarios. And in general, when you have this type of a flats, it is for them natural to actually kind of balance the markets in a way that most participants don't anticipate, because such a relatively abrupt fall in 5 waves will turn many of the market participants to look on the bullish side. Like here, many of the participants was looking to be bullish, and here they will turn to be bearish, and in one point this will turn and go to the other direction, and that's why we call this flat as one of the most dangerous corrections that exist, because the positioning of the traders will actually flip from one side to the other side and then to the third side. That's why this correction is so, I call it a kind of a little bit of evil one, because it makes market participants to be positioned every time wrongly during this correction. Even on this one, I already said that the RSI is very high, so one of these probabilities, I think it will unfold. We will definitely know that if we see a five-wave move in all of these scenarios that we look, and then a further move on the downside, because usually for a correction we look for a measured move and the quality of this ABC pattern, and this equality will signal us that correction is most probably finished, and then we are looking for a confirmation in the five waves on the upside and a pullback, which always presents a nice opportunity and small risk to enter on the further fractal developing on the direction of the trend. Okay, so that was Bitcoin. I want to go a little bit into these other things which happened with XRP and Stellar. We were looking particularly Stellar last time to be in a possible correction that we call a wedge or a triangle, and as you can see clearly that failed. So no big deal, we didn't took any of a position. We have seen a nice bounce on the upside, so potentially this wave 4, which is very deep, is still not invalidated. We didn't go below this wave 1, so we are kind of observing what is going on here. I can explain why we didn't took any position, because usually when you have a triangle you have a certain point when this triangle should be over. We know that every triangle has 5 legs in it, and they are also in relation with each other, so we usually wait to see, because triangles or wedges are a very tricky corrections which might result in this type of event. So that's why we are very cautious always when we watch this type of developments, and that was the reason we didn't put a long trade on it. We were always on guard to wait a full development of a 5-wave sequence, which would look something like this in a triangle. So I can also show you if you don't recognize this pattern. So triangles usually looks like this. They have lower highs and higher lows, and they kind of converge. There is also a few types of triangles, but here we will look the usual contracting one, and then we wait for this possible E-wave lows to put a possible trade, because we can measure risk very clearly, because we know where the triangles are invalidated, which give us a kind of a higher probability to measure our risk. As you can see here, we didn't see this type of developments, and for us that was a sign not to take a position on the account of a probable triangle. It didn't develop, so we are looking current development still in a possibility that this is the 4th wave and that we are going to see another push on the upside and finish this beginning wave 1, which will actually subdivide as a 1-2-1-2 and then a further move on the upside in Stellar. Wave count invalidation is at 0.0874, and if we see a particular price further move below this invalidation level, this wave count, we need to find the other solution, because it's not longer has any, it no longer has any validity to it. So we also presented a possible wave count on Ripple. As you know, what happened with Ripple, actually, as I said, I think in my first or addressing or beginning of this crypto lab, I think that in 2021 governments will try to make all sorts of different obstacles regarding the crypto market, and that is clearly seen here. If you follow the news, the XRP, actually the announcements of SEC suit against Ripple, which is based on a predicament that actually XRP is just can be regarded as a stock, and from one of the rules, I think, which was coined in 1960. So that forced a huge liquidation in Ripple. Also, some of the few funds liquidated all of their positions. We are, of course, looking the possibility that still, on the higher time frame, this is some type of a development still on the upside. We didn't invalidate key levels, so this is a real price. We just don't have it on this data provider here at Crypto Compare. So there is a 5 waves here, a very nice and very long pullback in this wave 2. So as you can see, the wave 3, which I have spoke of before, has a verticality to it and almost a 90-degree angle on the upside. A small balancing act here in a wave 4 and a further continuation to finish the wave 3. And then we saw a very drawn out big correction, which actually quite nice measures in time elapsed in this wave 2 and this wave 4. So on the basement of our standard procedure, how we look these corrections, we are still gonna hold the view that this correction has finished here until proven differently. I don't want to change wave counts on a basement just of this move on the downside until some key levels are broken. So we're gonna stay and continue to be bullish for now, although the environment clearly is not to be on that side, but we have to follow the methodology, not what the news are saying. The narrative becomes very negative, as you can see, for Ripple, but let's see what is going to happen here. Also, one thing regarding the last subdivision in a possible 5 waves, if you can see here from these lows, which we pinpoint with our members few months back, we have seen a wave 1 and 2 up in 3, which reached equality, and then in that case, if it's this is not just an ABC, we usually see a big elongated wave 5 when this wave 1 and 2 through 3 and 4, especially wave 1 and 3, are equal. So you can expect this kind of an occurrence in a possible wave 5 to be such an abrupt and elongated wave on the upside. So we're gonna stay for now looking and trying to decipher what will further happen in the Ripple. Definitely 5 waves down will tell us a lot. For now, this is not the case. So we are still going to look what is going to occur. Are we going to develop impulsive structure to the downside, which will be definitely relatively negative for Ripple, because that will mean that possibly after a small correction we can continue further and breaking these lows here and definitely invalid this wave count, which is still a probability. So I hope this is all kind of a clear, and we can see actually that crypto space today is relatively positive, but if you look the board in the last few days, all of this was red with some large percentages on the downside. The only one which turned back very sharply is Stellar. I think the correlation Stellar and Ripple had was very large before, but I think that now they will decouple because they are two different projects. As you know, Ripple is centralized and has a quite different nature than Stellar. So I think they will decouple, and as you can see in today's price action, if we start to see a move on the upside, that will be a clear sign that this two has decoupled in their usual correlation, and that we will see more of that, either if the ripple goes up and this whole mess is solved, they might catch each other to follow each other again. But for now I see a decoupling regarding these two, which is might hold on into a future. So let's go a little bit over the news. As you already know this, it is all over the news in the last few days. Also we have a news which is also a bit outdated. It's not outdated, it's a week back, that the crypto wallets rule might hit decentralized finance. And as you know, Mnuchin and Treasury are looking for the ways to ensure to know which people are involved in cryptos. This includes the KYC and some other things while you open your wallet. And I think definitely they will be onto it until it's seen in some type of a law regarding the crypto accounts. We will see how that will affect the markets. But looking of these two narratives, if you see the narrative from the funds, as I talked previously, has greatly changed, especially from the Bitcoin point of view. We know now that many of these funds are already buying Bitcoin on account of a possible store of value. I will just not say yet, and it's a big debate in my mind. Should we consider something which is created on the artificial base? It's a beautiful project, but I'm just saying, how do we value instinctively what is scarce? So usually what we value as a humanity as a scarce thing is something created by the forces outside of us. For example, gold, we cannot affect because gold is created by natural forces and has a limited supply. Although the Bitcoin is created in some type of an artificial way, and it's composed of the cryptography and mathematics. So in that sense, we can debate, and it's a philosophical debate, should Bitcoin be considered as a store of value with this type of underlying predicament. But I think in these times, when we have a generational, millennial outlook towards technology, and we are also in a technological age, and I think we live in time that we are going to shift between the industrial age to a more technological age, which will last for a few years. And usually these shake-ups that you see now happening on financial space and generally in our surroundings are usually something which happens pre actually transition of these periods, which we already seen happening in humanity in such a big phases when we transit to one form of utility to the other one. I have heard also the many stories. People are advocating for a possibility that Bitcoin becomes even in holdings of central banks due to its limited supply. So for these funds, except the yields, cryptos are starting, especially Bitcoin, are starting to have a store of value feature in this fiat currency world. Don't forget, from the other side also, central banks are going to issue a complete fully digital currency operations. Many things can happen there, which we might discuss in the next crypto lab. But I think some of the competition we will also see on that front, and this still are left to be seen. So in general, narrative regarding the funds, regarding the overall environment that we are now in economies around the world with such a huge debt all around and supply of fiat currencies, Bitcoin is getting the upper edge with its structure, and it seems it's slowly becoming a favorite for the store of value for these funds which keeps investing in it. And on the predicament of that conclusion, that we clearly see that this narrative is changed from 2017 and this one is much stronger, we can conclude that this trend will continue, but we have a little bit of opposing forces coming in now with these government regulations. So it will be interesting to see how will this play out in 2021. I will also show you some of the cryptos I'm tracking. We were looking last time for SushiSwap, and we were looking this as a possible pullback after this relatively nice and clear 5-wave subdivision, and we have seen a move down. We just have to see if this is all of the correction or it's gonna continue a bit more. I think with the possible negative outcome of the cryptos in the future short term, we might see a further continuation to the downside. This is left to be seen. This generally satisfied for now a possible wave 2 or be a corrective pullback. Usually they come to this previous 4th wave support, but this is already enough. I think this one will turn in a little bit more complex structure. We might see ABC, some type of an X, and then a continuation, and we're gonna be on watch for these possible levels, because we think that after we finish this corrective pullback, we might continue on the upside on this one. I also looked compound, which you know is on decentralized finance. And I said that this wave count is just hypothesis until we see a clear 5-wave development. We have seen a pullback, and here, because we didn't see a continuation, this might turn into several patterns that we look. This also might turn to be some type of a leading diagonal, which is also a bullish pattern in development, or it can be some type of a 1-2-1-2, because clearly this correction moved into the space of the previous wave 1, so which narrows our solution. This also can be 1-2-1-2, which is very bullish, but I don't see this type of development in a current environment, so possibly this will turn out to be a leading diagonal on the upside, and we might see a further pullback, which I think will be a good possible levels to exercise continuation of this trend after this nice 5 waves up and a corrective ABC pullback to equality here in the C wave. We also looked Uniswap last time, labeling this as a possible X wave. After this same situation as in compound, we labeled this as a upside move and then a corrective pullback also to some 0.618, which is a common Fib ratio when you have a possible triangle in B or an X wave. So this is also a potential candidate for a possible further continuation to the downside to some levels, and then reversal on the upside. So as I said, these levels and every chart we do are a hypothesis, and when we see a clear signs that the probability is raised, then we act on the trading side. And as I talked the last time, you clearly see here a difference of investing and swing trading sides, because the investing one are quite different from the perspective of risk, and the swing one is also particularly difficult, let alone daily trading on cryptos, which are very volatile. So I'm always recommend to our members to have kind of a 60% we recommend a kind of a two-side thing. You can leave a little bit of capital for a swing trading, and the rest you might find a viable project or just simply a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and have some exposure for the longer term. On the upside, of course, you need to have rigorous risk management and keep to this risk management to survive in this game. Also, we can look some of the requests maybe that you have. Let me just look your questions. Yeah, Merry Christmas, guys. Thank you for being here on this celebration day. I'm not gonna hold you any longer. Yeah, Ethereum. Let's look on this without any predicament of what we think. So we can kind of analyze this chart together on Ethereum. So if you look this on this log scale that you look, so potentially we looked also this as a possible 3 waves, but I don't think that the narrative actually agrees. We might have something like this, and that will be a relatively a big blow to cryptos. I think that only some firm government restriction can cause some type of the fall that we can look here in a possible 5-wave finished here and then ABC correction. I don't think still that this possibility is on table, so we have to look this and try to devise what's going on here on this higher time frame. Is this the same triangle, because the Ethereum and the Bitcoin has a high degree of correlation, and we are in some type of a developing of a further continuation on the upside. Also, I think that Ethereum might be in some type of a possible corrective pullback soon to the downside to some levels, but we will track that for our members firstly, of course, and then we might present some of the wave counts we track. You clearly know that we cannot present all of this here. We give added value to our members on trading analysis, which have also a possibility of a shorter term outlook with us, because we have a Discord channel where we discuss all of the short-term price action. So that will be, yeah, it looks weak. I agree. I think it's similar to the Bitcoin. We can also look this relative rotation graph. I also forgot to mention that my wave count on Ethereum Bitcoin cross has failed. We didn't exercise any position on it because clearly, as you can see, and what I have talked before, we have invalidated, while first I was thinking that we hold here very nicely this pattern which was presented in a 1-2-1-2 up in 3, and wave 4 cannot enter by the rule the territory of the wave 1. I was also looking for a continuation on the upside, but in this turmoil which was caused in the last few days, Ethereum fell further and held a little bit weaker stance than a Bitcoin, which caused Ethereum to go lower. So this wave count is invalid. We didn't also took any position. We were looking what will gonna occur here at these possible levels at 0.786 fib ratio, and we were looking for a possible wave 1 on the upside, and then in this correction we were looking for a possible entry with a very small stop loss and very big possible move on the upside. This actually didn't occur, and that's why by waiting for this confirmation we were saved for this move on the downside. We didn't react prematurely. I think it is the inclination of many people, me as well before. How cool is to catch the low or high? That's a very cool thing. It's a nice feeling. but as long as you avoid that, at least I tend to avoid it as much as I can. I wait for some type of a confirming price action and a smaller risk with increased probability that one of these wave counts will unfold. And if we have seen these 5 waves up and a pullback, this probability will increase greatly, offering us a small risk, small entry. If it fails, that's fine. But overall, as I said, the question how many of these you will have in a year will determine your results on the end of the year. So if you are driving this tool knowledgeably and you have an experience, you can basically put the probability that during the year you will have relatively many of these setups when your risk will play out with such small stop losses, and that in most of the wave counts you do, you will have actually upper edge in the end year results following this type of managing risk. So thank you again on the attention. I will leave you to have your very well deserved weekend. I think I don't know if we're gonna pass the Crypto Lab next week. I don't think so. Generally we post these links a few days after this event. Also you can follow me on my Twitter page, where I readily post any events that will come. So here, this is my Twitter page, so if you like, you can join there, and then I post the links and Crypto Lab further events in the future, or you can just click on the notifications. It will help us if you liked this what we have done here. It will definitely help us to if you click a like button, it will lift this for us and maybe give us some more viewers and greater visibility, so we can basically lift up this channel and have a bigger audience, as you know how this functions on YouTube. So I wish you a nice Christmas and New Year as well, and all the best. And be careful trading cryptos. Day trading and swing trading can, and it is very dangerous. So you should have some type of these safety features that I explained, so that you can survive these markets and practice patience, which is a very necessary thing for trading any assets class, let alone cryptos. So I hope see you next Thursday, and all the best.